Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win. I want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path, if you want it bad. I'm gonna show you where it's at, yeah, how you can get it back. Yeah, cause I ain't never done, I'll be number one. Working hella hard until I get just what I want. Yeah, rises like the sun, yeah, fatal like a gun. Shooters gonna shoot and I'm gonna shoot until I fall. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.
Is there any way I could test the sound?
I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah.
Welcome into Midnight Not Mormons. Midnight Midegah is what we're calling it tonight. Oh my gosh, there he is. Where you been all my life, Chad?
Dude, I was here for like 10 minutes.
No, bro. Hey, and how
Yeah.
about
Flip your phone. Flip your phone.
Dude, I'm trying. How do I find the
It's
landscape?
locked. It's locked. It's locked. You've locked your screen.
I found it.
Yeah, and this is Midnight Midegah. This isn't Midnight Mormons.
No,
Wait, we didn't take that. It's Midnight Midegah.
Where's Midegah?
He's in the lobby. We're kind of like
We're teasing
the hidden one right now, you know, just like waiting.
Dude,
waiting to
wait, the hidden one is here?
Yeah,
the hidden one is here.
So we got
hiding in plain sight.
We got a couple people in the lobby. Chad, look at yourself. Everyone's gonna get motion sickness, bro. What are you doing?
Yeah,
David wouldn't let me use his computer.
Bro, okay, that's way better. I was getting motion sickness just watching you. Welcome into Midnight Midegah, everybody. It is 12:04 in the capital city, and we are honored to have Shane here. Thanks, Grandpa, for being here. This is hard. This is a sacrifice for me.
I was in bed, and you know what, Trevor? I didn't want to disappoint you, and I'm like, hey, this is a huge deal. We got Midegah coming back on. Yeah. He's coming back on, and you know what? That's a big deal. It's been a minute, so I had to stay up. I had to drink another bang, and I'm pumped. We almost got 100 people live right now at midnight.
At midnight, and I got my juice, my diet Red Bull. Get me through it.
Hey, we got Brian Nettles coming on too, right?
Yeah, let's add him. Brian, you ready to come on?
Oh, look at this.
Oh my gosh, Brian's got these headphones. Look at that guy.
Tuning in.
What's up, Bri? Hey, and Bri, welcome. You had to set an alarm to wake up for this, right? Can you hear us? Oh, he can't hear.
Yeah, I set an alarm and I'm awake, and I'm hearing a lot of echoing, and so I don't know if I'm hearing what I'm supposed to be hearing or not.
You're not.
I was actually asleep too, and then you guys texted me.
Oh, bro,
Okay.
You don't sleep this early. Okay, well, welcome in, everybody. And as you guys know, 2 weeks ago, we kicked off Midnight Mormons. And we did it out of respect. We did it out of like homage to our boys at Word Radio. They abandoned the name. They abandoned the show. The YouTube handle was gone. The website was gone. And so, Chad and I were talking about this, like, dude, let's us go and do Midnight Mormons.
Well, to be clear, you own the URL.
Yeah.
And you own the channel name, right?
We didn't grab the channel name, but it's inactive at YouTube. We did check with YouTube. We checked with our attorneys. We made sure everything was buttoned up. And then after doing the episode, a couple days into it, Carden sent me. I keep saying that, dude. Carden sent me a message and just said, "Hey, bro, do you mind taking that down?" And so we're having convos right now about what we're going to do with it. Maybe there's some collaboration that we do with it. Maybe we keep it, but out of respect to Carden Radio, we're put it on pause. And so tonight is Midnight Midegah.
Does Midegah know about this?
Oh, look.
Oh, he's right here.
Oh. And look at that. He's even got sunglasses on.
Man, he looks like $1 million. He's got cards in his hand.
Oh yeah. Let's play some poker.
Let's do it.
Let's really get some controversy going.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at poker. I won the Utica Texas Hold'em Championship in 2012.
Man, I'm hearing a double echo with everything.
Hey, Brian, log out and log back in.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, it's good to see you, Papa Shane.
Hey, Midegah.
Hey,
what's up?
Thanks for staying up.
Are you sure that's Midegah? He looks like a Marvel character who's in disguise right now. I don't quite know who it is. Is that Captain America?
Oh, it is him.
Let me tell you.
It is him. He's paying homage to the. I didn't get the memo on the sunglasses, but that's okay. I got my glasses on at least.
Yeah, those
sunglasses on.
The LDC, he got something going here. You know, I heard this song. It was I wear my sunglasses at night. And I figured, why not?
Dude, I always listen to that song when I'm driving. I gotta resist the temptation to put on the sunglasses while I'm driving at night. You know.
just live deadly. You know, you just Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah,
Trev,
dude.
we got 103 people on at midnight. Let's get what everybody wants to know. There's so much that's happened.
There's a lot that's happened. So we're going to be covering tonight. Originally, Chad and I were talking to Midegah about jumping on last week or a couple weeks ago because he's got some really cool stuff that's happening. We're going to talk about Palenque, Mexico, and a recent discovery in Palenque, Mexico. If you're in front of your computer and you want to Google this, go check out what they've recently discovered in 2023 and 2024 in Palenque, Mexico. 95% of the entire city in ruins is still covered in vegetation with, ground penetrating LiDAR, or maybe not ground penetrating, but LiDAR. They've discovered this metropolis in Palenque. Midegah's been there. There's some really cool stuff. Writings on the wall. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into the copper scroll. We talked about it a little bit. Midegah is going to give us some drips on that. That's coming close. And there's been all these naysayers being like, they've been talking about the scrolls forever. Well, here they are.
There's a reason.
Are we going to see a picture?
In your mind's eye, Chad.
Okay, my mind's eye.
Yep.
I'll see the copper plates with my spiritual eyes then.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I've heard that before. And then the biggest thing, and the question that's going around the internet right now is like, Midegah got baptized to another church, and people are losing their minds. And so we want to talk about that and ask a whole bunch of questions. There's been a lot of questions that have been asked to us. I know that I've been able to have a conversation with Midegah offline about this and just kind of figure out like what was he thinking? Why did he do it? But originally, when I first heard it, I thought, how cool would it be at 48 years old, me, to get baptized right now? Like, I had one of my best friends who got baptized when we were in our 20s, and I was jealous that Jay Ackett got baptized in his 20s, and I did it. And so it's the very first thing I said to Midegah. I said, I'm jealous, dude. Are you kidding me? And there's a lot of like hate, right? Like, as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, like, I would recommend that we all pull this hate out of our heart. And there's a lot of stuff that I've been seeing online, just like, there he goes, like, off the bandwagon. And there's a reason for this, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about it tonight. So everybody, that's the schedule for tonight, and let's jump right into it. So Midegah, you got baptized yesterday?
Yeah, I did. It's tough riding the edge of a lightning bolt, but yeah, it happened. It happened yesterday, and it was not planned. It just sort of happened.
And you're in Phoenix. You got invited to come down to a convention of the Church of Jesus Christ. And by the way, are you wearing the Church of Jesus Christ hat? Okay.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with sporting some Team Jesus here.
I mean,
I've never seen so many people lose their minds over me saying that I'm with Jesus Christ, no matter which branch the birds rest on.
I mean, we know through the full restoration of the gospel that all these branches get, woven into one, right? So, I mean, maybe people that aren't looking long-term at the vision are worried about you in the interim, but I don't know.
Well,
talking to you the last couple of days, I'm not worried about you.
I do want to talk about this. There's something that a lot of the Latter-day Saints really harp on a lot. They really, really like Donald Trump about it. It's the United States Constitution. And the United States Constitution says that I have the right. It's my decision and it's my choice to choose the religion or the faith or the box that warms me or best suits me. That it's a constitutional right for me to make my own individual decision for myself. And that it's the responsibility of like other people to have some empathy, to show some respect to that, decision that I'm making. I had every reason to make the decision. I wasn't really wanted in the box that I was in.
You really weren't.
And I think that. What's that?
You really weren't. Like it always was this uphill battle. And
I wonder if people understand. What's that?
Somebody makes a great comment here, and it's a part of our articles of faith. It says, "Let them worship how, where, or what they may." And I think we've got to remember what the articles of faith say, and we got to support anybody who chooses to worship how, where, or what they may.
That's right. And for me, it's imagine if you're in a relationship with somebody, because I'm asking for people to just have some empathy for me as a human being, an individual, David Scott Taylor, Midegah Gichidab, that have some empathy a little bit for what has happened. I've put myself way out there in a position that I don't want, and I keep kind of getting elevated and pushed along. And I for the last year, I have been continually told en masse by Latter-day Saints that they did not want me in the box. And I need to feel wanted and loved. And I need to feel that I'm okay. And I have 3 daughters. I became a grandfather in September. So I have a granddaughter named Gwendolyn. I have 3 daughters who are 23, 19, and 19. And they also saw how much I was unwanted. And it made them feel maybe that way too. I have 2 sons that I want to see their dad wanted, that where he's at brings value to our life. I as you know, I couldn't even go to church in a ribbon shirt. I even if when I went, I was continually challenged. And I love the Latter-day Saints. That's my family. I'm a Smith. I'm a Taylor. I'm a Millet. I love them, and I believe within my whole heart that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a sacred branch on the sacred tree of Israel. I believe that with all my heart. But I also know that a tree can't be sustained by one branch. And I spend a lot of time in nature, and I see trees that have big branches, really massive branches, and even they still have to have the little branches. And so I had something happen that was remarkable. And so I'll pause there before I go into what was the deciding factor for me to say, you know, this is the room I'm in, this is the branch I'm sitting on, these are the birds that I'm flocked with, but we're on the same tree. You peel the bark off, it's the same sap from the same roots.
Yeah, and I mean, when I heard it, I was surprised, mainly because, and you said it happened, you know, impromptu type situation, but I was surprised, but then I wasn't actually surprised, and I kind of was like happy for you a little bit, because it, in my mind, it kind of like takes the pressure off you, because there were so many people that were hating on you and like false prophet and, you know, antichrist and all this stuff, and which is so hyperbolic, ridiculous claims that just does no good. And so to me, this is kind of like a way that now those people immediately like can just discredit you. They're gonna forget you, right? And so I don't know. If this was someone in my family, right, and if it was one of my kids or sisters, whatever, and they wanted to do something like this, like, I love them, I support them, and you know, you're still in a restoration branch. We're all going to be woven together, you know, like that has to happen before Christ returns, and sure seems like that's coming pretty fast. So,
You know, there's something I always say that's pretty relevant to this. I always say that when Jesus returns, the world is going to be really shocked that the Mormons were right. And the Mormons are going to be really shocked that they weren't as special as they thought they were. Because, especially like here in Utah, there's this pride of Ephraim, let's call it that a lot of people have, where it's like, I don't feel comfortable talking to people really about spiritual experiences I've had, because the moment I start talking about something that happened to me that makes me know, yeah, I know for a fact Jesus is real. I had this thing that happened. They start accusing me, go, you don't have the authority to receive revelation from Jesus and know that he's the savior. It's like, it's the weirdest thing. It's like, I'm just saying. And a lot of times the people that attack like that are the people who they have the weakest testimony, right? And because they don't have a sure witness of Christ, what they end up doing is they end up committing idolatry, and they worship the organization of the church, and everything about it has to be perfect, and they see anyone who does anything different from them or does anything on their own as an attack on their God, basically, right? Like, I see the church, it is a vehicle which is meant to bring us closer to Jesus Christ, right?
amen.
And I've shared testimony before that one thing that brought me to the church was literally a vision I received of an LDS apostle, right? And that happened to me. I was like, holy crap, that was real. And it gave me information I couldn't have known on my own. But I have that sure witness of my own, right? And you see the same pattern when those are the people who, as they call it, always have their shelves break, because they aren't learning to, know Jesus is real. They want something. It's not my place to judge people like that, because truthfully, we want God to be real, right? Like, and there's people who they hold on to this or that so that they have faith or whatever. But that's what I think is sort of going on with Midegah, is they see this guy who's doing his own thing away from what they are holding on to, and they see it as some sort of threat that's very personal to them.
Yeah, it's scary. Listen, Midegah's doing some audacious stuff, and I've always said from the beginning, Shane I've always said, like, Is this dude like a Samuel the Lamanite type figure? Like what role is this guy trying to figure? And for someone who maybe is confused about the keys, we call them key clutchers. Midegah is a confused guy. You are.
I think people have to understand that when they talk about parallels, and I will start again because I know people have come on. You know, I'm executing my constitutional right to choose my faith, and for me, it was important to feel loved and to feel wanted, and to show my children that I was associating with people that were showing me love and kindness, but I also understand. You know, I also understand that in my own family, you know, that I come from the house of Israel, you know, through my blood, and I am that part of that tree. And so regardless of the branch that I'm hanging out with, they can't remove the commitments and the promises made by the Creator to my family generations ago. And so I'm not losing anything if I find love and support and kindness. And so for me, this journey kind of started and I think everybody knows, they saw it, you know, there's parallels. What happened? Samuel was and this is where the disconnect happens. Latter-day Saints are forgetting that the Book of Mormon is the story of communication between Indians. These are Indians. And Samuel was sent from one group to another group to tell them, hey, you know, we're rising. They're rising. And it would be a real shame if you were falling. You know, usually at 7 generations, one generation's being blessed and usually another one is being cursed. And it's always because of weird stuff they're doing. Maybe they really like their fancy things or their lifestyle or whatever, or maybe they're judgmental. Yeah. You know, maybe someone never meets the bar, never measures up. And so I was sent. I was sent from the north, from the Anishinaabe, to go to the Nephite records peoples. And maybe this is the only way for it to be clear enough to them is to step out of their camp and say, hey, listen. And I was sent to the Nephite records people to affirm to them that the Nephite record is in fact a factual record. And I was specifically instructed not to go to my faith first so that I would not show favoritism. I was told that while I personally was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you go to the others first so that you don't show favoritism. Well, in doing that, in the functions as a tribal chief, and they attack that too, which is a real shame. Because the elders that are victims of genocide see that and they say, oh, Midegah's, he's going through what we went through. And then they get closer to me and they protect me, elevate me. He understands us. And so that's, you know, and I did that. And I was called an apostate. My children have to read this. There was members of the church that thought that they could dictate to me in my tribal functions which groups I could talk to. We know the church has a structure. And we know that no other ward, bishop, or stake president has authority over you other than your own. And yet I was in another city doing a tribal function, and everybody knows that, and it was witnessed by 100 people, that members of a bishopric and a stake came into another church's building during a meeting that we were having and pulled me out. And then in the following morning, what they said verbally, they said in writing. And so we have to rebalance here. I know that none of the apostles or the presidency would think that anything that was going on was okay, or that anything that I was doing was wrong. But there was some silence. Well, maybe they just don't know. It's a big organization. There's a lot of layers in between. But yeah, I'm also a human being. Absolutely. I'm a human being.
And I think the point you're driving at here is just this whole entire thing of like, I wanted to go where I was welcomed. I wanted to go where I was loved. And I want to address a couple of things that maybe we didn't start off in the beginning of here. Like we our guys, you know, Shane, myself, Chad, Brian, like we're in the LDS Church, the Brighamite Church. And I'm seeing some comments in this feed here that some of them are a little naive or maybe come from a place of confusion. I won't belittle, but it's just, you know, it's like, why are we doing this? Why are we putting, you know, I saw like some Judas comment, you know, like is that media being Judas? Absolutely.
And I wanted to address that as well, because like I was reading some of those negative comments, and it goes back to what I'm saying. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here for a second against Chief Midegah, just to prove a point.
All right.
Right. Let's say he's the worst that they accuse him of. He's a false prophet or something. He's never claimed to be a prophet, but let's say he's a false prophet. He's doing all this stuff. Why are they attacking him? Why aren't they praying for him? Right. I know when somebody has not, and this isn't to sound rude, this isn't to belittle. I understand that when you, whether in the spirit or some people meet the Savior in person, when you encounter Jesus Christ, he shows you the way that he knows you. He's experienced everything we ever have through the atonement, and he overcame all that because he loves us so much. And when you understand that, you begin to see people the way that the Savior sees people, right? And you begin to understand that in the pre-existence before this world, even the worst people down here, you loved them. You cared about them. And even if they're kind of lost down here, even if they're making mistakes, guess what? You still cared about them. After I had an experience a couple weeks ago, I went to the temple the next day. And you all know what I did there? I wrote down on the temple prayer roll the names of people who I had hated for years. For years. Like that they had caused me to go to a very dark place in my life. And I saw them as a child of God, right? And I wrote down their names on the temple prayer roll and I put it in a little box, right? So when people, they're saying, oh, like they're in the comments freaking out, it's like, that is the same self-righteousness that the Jewish Pharisees had in the time of Jesus, that sort of pompous, arrogant attitude. We don't need that. Right? And we should pray for people like that too. It's hard for me, but we should pray for those judgmental people as well.
And pray for me and love me. You know, last summer there was a gentleman named Sean Kruger. I don't know if you guys know he's a very amazing guy.
Ron's building our Cumorah database that's going to be launching here in February.
He made a video and he made a comment that was based off of some of the stuff he was reading even last summer. And what is it that I did? I'm a messenger. You know, why April is our new year. You know, we are not Gregorian. We're not European calendars. April is the beginning of our spiritual new year, and October is our physical new year. This is the same as the Jews. And so that's why last April I had come out, because it was like, go let them know. And this April is when the next year starts. And that's why April is when we have 2 joint conferences, which we'll talk about, where the book is released. It's never been different than that. And then there's something occurring in March that is in preparatory to that involves the leadership of 30 million indigenous people from 150 tribal nations in North, Central, and South America. And in that Council of Americas, I'm the chairman. And so you have to understand how they view you when the only thing they see, and it is, you know, Alessi, the Mayan chief, had a very, very negative comment about the church, and I had to stand up for the church. I had to do that. And it was because of the only thing they see when these remarkable things are happening is an absolute opposition to the peacemaker by behavior and conduct. And so if I can prove a point, which is I'm not welcome in your box, so I step into a box where I'm welcome. I'm already in my tribal box, but we go into another box, and there's a reason, and I want to talk about what happened. And you still up it even more. What is the only alternative? That I leave the box called my body and return to heaven? Is that the only alternative? So where is it that I'm acceptable as a human being, as an individual, as a child of God, as a spirit man? Where am I accepted? Have some empathy. You can Google or you can go on YouTube and see the chief complaints of those who are anti-Mormon or ex-Mormon. They didn't feel love. They didn't feel acceptance. They felt a lot of narcissism. What is that any different than what I experienced or my family experienced? What about the call logs that were made to the lodges? What about the threats to break into houses? What about the threats to people's, physical harm? And these are Latter-day Saints. And that's why I said, I'd rather hang out with professing sinners,
Yeah.
And so
it's kind of mind-boggling. Okay, so
but let's go back. Hey, Mormons are Republicans mostly.
So
I
that
executed my
Mayan chief,
constitutional right.
that Mayan chief who had negative things to say about the LDS Church, he reminds me of someone. You want to know who else had negative things about the LDS Church? Moroni, when he saw our day, he's like, Jesus has shown me you, even though you're not here. I've seen you as if you are here. And then he says that we pollute the church of God and that we're arrogant hypocrites who only care about money. This is in Mormon 8. Start reading Mormon 8:38, and it's a message towards us today.
It's a message to you, Chad. That is not.
That is, all I care about is money. I've built up secret abominations and combinations and all this terrible stuff, and I care about my money, and I'm polluting the church of God right now. To be fair, none of us are perfect. We're all polluting the church of God, which it sort of shows a nuance where it's like Moroni acknowledges us as the church of God, right? He's like, okay, the church is true, but you guys are messing up and you're being arrogant. And I think that in Alma 5, I believe it is, when it said that the members within the church, because of the way they acted, were more unrighteous than many of the people outside the church, and it was a stumbling stone to those in the church. Because I can't count how many people I've had on Instagram DM me that I've had to try and be like, hey, you can join the church and you don't have to have anything to do with all these people, right? Because they have a testimony of the Book of Mormon, all this stuff, but they don't want to be around a lot of the Mormons. And I've had so many people DM me.
I got a question for Shane because he knows the scriptures probably, I would say, better than most people I've ever met. But what's the difference between, you have someone on here named Brian Nettles who befriended me. There's a lot of people in the church that are very loving and kind. But there's a divide. And there's people like Brian Nettles and some of the others in here that just by being my friend, they were challenged by other people. And so what's the difference between that and the Pharisees and Sadducees being mad at Jesus because he's being friends with who they would think would be sinners? Shane, what's the difference?
We are almost reliving those very times of the New Testament in our day, and we're watching it play out. And I can't believe that we can't see what's going on right in front of our eyes. And we have to ask ourselves, are we the Pharisees? Are we the Sadducees? And how do we become more like Christ and be around those that people talk badly about?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Bednar's.
I'd like to hear Brian.
Nailed that, right?
So
Brian, your echo off?
Yeah. So even was it today or yesterday? I was talking to my friend Stone Eagle about this exact very issue, and his response is pride. It's pride in the church. It just takes me back to the Book of Mormon and Helaman and Third Nephi, where pride was such an issue. And I remember Alma talking about this year, pride is the issue. We went out and preached the gospel, and we were able to, and we focused on pride. And I just don't understand it myself. I remember in the New Testament, there was a time when I think it was Peter went to Jesus and said, hey, there's these people that are performing miracles in your name, but they're not following us. And Jesus basically told them, you leave them alone. They're still with me. He basically told them they're still with me. Even if they're not with you, they're still with me. And
Yeah, no,
it also reminds me that, I just go to Sunday school class. I just go to Sunday school lessons in the past. And actually it's part of the discourses of Brigham Young, where he talks about when the millennium, when Jesus Christ comes again, is it just going to be members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints there? Absolutely not. There's going to be members of every church there. Everyone that believes in Christ is going to be there. And I actually was very happy for you to get baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ yesterday. The reason why I'm happy is because everybody needs to have a place where they feel welcome. And I'm just disgusted when I see all of the negative comments. I can't even, if I were to put the interview that we did on my Facebook feed, I would have people who are my friends, once again, criticizing Chief Midegah, saying that he's a deceiver. And it's just embarrassing to me that we are so judgmental. We're not the followers of God that we need to be when we are being so judgmental against a person who is a living person, a son of God, a child of God, who is simply trying to do the best that he knows how to do. And yet the members of our church want to literally, I say literally, it's figuratively, but they're stoning you. They're casting stones, verbal stones at you. And that is so un-Christ-like. It's just appalling to me.
Social media stones.
Let's just think about this. They had actually a couple of times actually sought out and communicated with my workplace. So if you wanted to,
I just wonder why people don't just don't say anything.
Yeah,
like why even expend the energy to make the comment or to say? Just don't say anything at all. Just move on with your life. It is what it is. Move on.
Hold on. I'm gonna be back in a second. There's some girl who's really angry at me right now that I unadded on Snapchat, and she's blowing up my phone.
Say less.
So let me tell you there's what's being missed in this whole thing is what's actually happening with the tribal people. And there's something occurring right now where they're discussing me not going down to Yucatan in March and instead sending me to Alabama to speak at a JCRB conference. Many don't know that when I was baptized and I was with the Church of Jesus Christ, the RLDS and their apostles were there too. And it's the first time that these groups have ever been meeting this with me, and they understand that they have to stop. The apostles, when Jesus came, he had 24, he had people on different continents. We don't know if there was others. There could have been others on other places. And they weren't contending with each other. But they're thinking of sending me, and that's just so people can start to stop thinking that I'm some Joseph Smith. I'm not. I didn't find records under a stone hidden in the woods. I bear no part in any process of bringing forth any book. I'm a communicator. I have the ability, due to my life, to sustain a whole lot of opposition. There's a certain desensitization to struggle. And I am a wall between you and people who are victims, living victims of genocide. People who are sterile, they are sterile from the 60s and 70s. People that are traumatized for their children or themselves being taken from their parents. And they're living. And so what is occurring? You got a Grand Chief over 3 million people in 68 communities. And his interaction his interaction to your church, the first time he's ever heard of it. They've never had anyone proselytize in their communities, ever. The first time he gets to know about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is what they do against the messenger that they have sent. And they see it, and he reads it, and then they all do all the way down to Colombia, or all the way down to even Bolivia. And that's their impression. And now, what's their impression of the Church of Jesus Christ? What's their impression of the community of Christ? What's their impression of all nations? What's their impression of the First Peoples community of Christ? What's their impression of the CRE? Does anyone even know about those 26 churches grouped together? What's their impression with the Joint Conference Restoration branches? Their impression is people who are loving and kind and are accepting to them. So in essence, what you have done is you have removed yourself from leaders of 150 tribal nations that represent 30 million people that have never been proselytized. And you are 17 million people with only 4 million active, acting as if you can cast them off. They are branches that are natural to the tree, that are trying to graft back in, and you are refusing them because the tree's yours, right?
And so it's going to happen. It's going to happen eventually. And so for time, and also because I know Shane and Brian are unlimited, let's transition. And there's chats going on. We're not even talking to each other inside the chat here. I'm reading this thing, and it's sad to me. Like, this is not this is the spirit of contention. Just dropped my phone.
So what I did by stepping out of the box is I put a mirror up so you can reflect your heart to yourselves.
Ooh.
And this is important for me. It's so that you can see me with my tribal people, what we're watching. I do not want to be in that group that is alienating my people. I love you, but I can't do it. But I do want to tell you how it happened. It was so special. I just want you to know, I stood up on a stage and half of the crowd were native. There was about 600 people in the room, and in Phoenix, and no less than 300 of them, no less, maybe a little more, were tribal peoples of many nations. There were at least 50 Anishinaabe, no less. And one of the really famous singers who was Anishinaabe. And I saw my people sitting with me, and they love me because I'm them, and they accept me because they know. And I realized that this is actively the only church in the Restoration, they all admitted it, that is actually seeking and working with the tribal nations. And I walked in a room and it was just my people. And do you think any of them attacked me? They loved me. The president of this church came personally to see me in December to personally do his best to pray with me after I had a really bad review in November of my tumors. That's another thing. I'm medically ill, and it still doesn't stop. And he gave me a blessing, an anointing, and the pain went away. And people don't know, we were going to cancel a trip to the Maya in December because I was in such pain, and I was on so many medications. And the pain went away, and I went off the medications, and we did the trip. And I showed up day one, and I was recognized as a Mayan chief. We've been trying to say that my family's from there. We're connected. We're one group. And these things are validations. And when I had my January 3rd review, there was a 60% reduction in my tumor growth. And they're not doing radiation or surgery. And for me, this was a sign. And then I walk into a room of a conference with a lot of trouble on my heart, because Brian knows, Trevor knows, Shane knows, the LDC knows, everybody knows the amount of continual hate I get just for doing my job. And I walk into a room and it's my people. It's all tribal people and people loving them. And I knew immediately that I need to be with my people. And so I said, I want to be with you. I want to stay here. And they no less than 125 people drove through a desert to a lake that they could find just to put me in it and baptize me. Their president, all of their apostles came, and they were singing after I was baptized. And they gave me the most love that I can imagine. And when I came out of the waters and I walked to the shore, who did I see? Tribal peoples. My people. Why wouldn't I choose to stay with them?
Yeah, and I think it's beautiful. And incidentally, who baptized you?
the president of the church, because he wanted to send a message to the other, he wanted to send a message that this is it. You need to show kindness and love.
And guys, I want to.
I'm not being divisive, but I'm not being divisive.
No, I don't think you are at all. I want to send a message really quick here that, you know, myself, Shane, and Brian are all members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, all sustain the prophet, love the church, and yet we can be here in the space, not be scared that Midegah is doing whatever Midegah is doing, not judge Midegah, condemn Midegah for whatever he's doing, be able to have this conversation, just like I could have someone that's a Jehovah Witness on here and have a conversation about what they love about Christ, right? Midegah loves the Book of Mormon. And that's the thing that attracted me to him, is because I saw that there might be something that could prove the Book of Mormon beyond faith with, you know, some of these histories and these scrolls. And so we're not here, some of these people in the comments, we're not here turncoating on the church. This is our church. We absolutely love it. In fact, we got in a little bit of a fight with Midegah when we did our episode, and we were like saying, hey, this is our church, you know, and that kind of stuff. But it's okay. You can welcome love others.
Let's think about this. The first 4 months and Brian, I know you wanted to comment maybe after this. The first 4 months, the bombarding, and I had some bad moments. I'm a human. Shane knows. He counseled me about it. Hey, you gotta turn the cheek a little bit. But, you know, I had some human moments. You know, I in October, I still received with full understanding of what was occurring. I still received from the leadership my temple recommend. And they understood, and they said they wish people were more loving too. I didn't remove myself because of an issue with leadership in any regard. There's a stake down in Independence that went a little bit bewilderingly crazy, okay? But my leaders of my ward and stake were amazing. And I sustained the apostles and the prophet and the president. It's the people. I want to be with my people. I want to be with my people, because the people don't show love, and not just to me, but other tribal people that come in, and you know it's true when they don't dress like you, and they don't look like you, and they don't talk in your vernacular. You don't involve yourself with them in your own wards, and I experienced it. But there's nothing more loving and kind than to be with your own family and to be loved. And so I hope that is understood. And so it's the same tree. You can't remove Israel from me. I am Manasseh. I am Judah. I am Benjamin. I am also Ephraim. If I choose not to hang out with Ephraim because they're really mean, that's my constitutional right. My constitutional right. And under the Articles of Faith, you're supposed to respect that and show love. So if I go into another box because you don't want me there, and then now the mirror's up on you and you double down, you want to take my life? Do you want to inspire people to take my life? What is it you're trying to do?
Yeah.
And for what? Let's talk about the records. Brian, what do you want to say?
Yeah, Brian.
I wanted to chime in about the healing, because I first of all, I think it's wonderful that they laid their hands on your head and that your tumors greatly declined. I'm happy, very happy for you on that. And I will give out a little bit of chastisement to the members of my own church, because I believe that so many of us don't have the faith to heal people. When we give blessings, we don't give blessings, we give prayers. You know, even the prophet talked about that recently. And even yesterday in church, I was part of a blessing. I anointed, the other person blessed, and I just could sense I hate to say this online because I love this man who did the blessing, but it was like he's afraid to bless because he doesn't want to speak in the name of God, because he's afraid it won't be listened to and heard. And I personally have given blessings where miraculous things have happened. I gave a blessing to a woman a year ago who literally has a new stomach today. She had a terminal illness, and she literally has a new stomach today because of the blessing that I gave her. And she came to me later because she's got another terminal illness, wanting a similar blessing again, and I gave it to her. And I don't have that final answer right now as to whether or not she's completely healed, but I believe she is. And so I just give that as the challenge to us as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, particularly priesthood holders, to have the faith to heal. They could do it in the Church of Jesus Christ. We do it in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're able to do it. Why don't we do it? And so I just wanted to give that thought out.
Now, I'm super happy. I just want you to know I'm super happy. I felt home. I felt the Spirit. Everybody did. And I was with my people.
Yeah,
and
I think everybody that doesn't like you should be happy because you left, right? Like they should be stoked. Why are they freaking out? They should be happy. They should be like, yes, he left. So, all right, let's pivot. Let's transition. I think we talked about that a lot. I'm happy for you because you're happy, and I know that you're going to be in our branch because we're all going to be coming together before Christ comes here anyway. So I don't know if that's 3 years, 7 years, 10 years, whatever that is, but it's going to be before you die. Okay, there's some cool stuff going on right now, like way cool stuff with these birch bark scrolls. Can you talk to us about copper, the etymology of that, what it is? Now,
I haven't seen any copper plates, but the Great Lakes is home to the largest copper mines in the world, and the Anishinaabe people used copper. They have a lot of copper, and we've won wars using copper. The Copper Women is a story about an invasion, and we used copper to basically, buy peace. But the first record that's being released is called the Misquabic Ojibwe. And what that means is Misquabic means like red metal. And Ojibwe is a vision or writings. It's connected to heaven. We call ourselves that too. And so these are sacred. The portion that was released from the publisher, because it is at a publisher that's working on a release for a big ceremony occurring in March that we'll talk about. That basically what the understanding is that it is an expanded version of Genesis, is what it appears the first book is going to be. And it's going to include commentary on a person called Sky Woman. That if you ask every single tribe in North America, do you know about Sky Woman? Every single one will be like, yes, absolutely. But most don't stop and listen. Everybody wants to talk about Sky Father. These are different names. Sky, what's sky? Heaven. That these are things that are coming out. So what's happening is it was always planned that in September they were gathering. They started in April, New Year, April. We don't go by your calendar. New Year, I came out. Zion Media grabbed me right at the beginning. So did Brian Nettles. And it's, hey, listen, they're meeting this year. It's what's happening, and they're sending me to talk to the Nephite Records peoples, all of them, going to my church last. Just didn't get there, and that happened. We hit September. They met in October. They had a ceremony. I had to do a 14-day fasting ceremony, and I went 8 days. I had a vision, but everybody who does it has a vision, and from there was a conference with Zion Media at the Morel Ranch, which I think was fascinating, where I could talk about the vision, and it was very special to me. And then from there, we really went and pulled together. We had in the room, and we talked about this in November, we had for the first time in 180 years, all of the restoration branches in one room together, their leadership. There was one missing, but maybe I was the representative at that time, the lowly member in the room that had somehow got them to come together. And that's what happened in November. And then we rolled into December, and we actually went down to the Maya. Now the Maya had right before the last year ended in March, they had a massive ceremony with all of their communities in Yucatan and Guatemala and Honduras and Nicaragua and Costa Rica. They all came together and they had a really big ceremony and of unity because it was for this year. And so we went and saw them, and it was the very first day. And we had chiefs and matriarchs from Canada, and it was, Midegah, you're home. What are you talking about? I'm home. You know how you draw those circles and you talk about that's your family's from here. And believe it or not, it is what it is. The Grand Chief and me, I look more like his son than his son does. And I look like them all. They're all the Deer Clan. The leadership of the Maya are the Deer Clan, the same as mine. We were traders. They took me to where my family lived before the breakdown, and I was able to go there, and it was amazing. My family lived there. We were traders. We were traders and used the Mississippi as our freeway. They took me to a place called Palenque, where there's only 5% is uncovered. And inside one of the rooms is, it looks like a trading room. Maybe it's a large hallway on a wall. And they've known this for a year. On the wall is Hebrew writings. Underneath it, the same writings in what looks like, they said, a language from Mali, Western Africa. And then below that, a language from Southeast Asia. We currently have a Muskogean chief of the Chickasaw who is down in Southeast Asia, who crossed the Pacific trying to follow the trail. He's working with the Maya too, Chief Phil Lane Jr., and they validated it as well. We have chiefs everywhere. But they're only, by the way, their introduction to Mormons is your guys' attacks on me. And it's fascinating. And so in March, but I love you.
I got to say something. This is, we can't skip over this. You're saying, and I heard this 3 weeks ago, and Latter-day Chad and I were just like, what? You're telling me that there is a room in Palenque that's been discovered, and I think it was June of last year, that has writing on it that is in a Hebrew, a Western African, and an Asian dialect. There's 3 sets of writing in there, which, if that doesn't give you a little bit of boost in your Book of Mormon faith evidence, I don't know what does.
Hey, they were trading, and they had a strong connection with those in the north. There was those in the islands, and I've been trying to repeat this. It was like Manhattan, Cuba, and the islands. Before, it used to be different people living there, the Taino. But the Azteca originated in the islands. They were the Mayan of the islands. And they had the largest population, even though they actually didn't have any resources. And that's because all the resources from the north came down the Mississippi and would be staged there like Manhattan. And then the resources from Yucatan as well. And they were going north-south through there. Gadianton robbers, capitalists. And they came in from the islands. And so that's why if you look at the map and it shows like the whole west coast is Mexico, that was the Azteca. Those were who you would call Lamanites. They're the ones that disrupted everything, that thought that they had to tear the heart out of your chest to free your spirit from your body. They like letter of the law stuff. And so, but yeah, and there's more. And there's a cave where the boy with the sun shield or a golden shield is a sacred person to them. And he came down with an older elder. Our stories from the north that I was sharing was about the boy from the sun. He has a sun shield. It's a golden shield with a star on it. He was with an elder. You and I would call that elder Jeremiah. But they have a cave there where he's buried. When I go the next trip down there, they were going to take me to the cave. So, I got sat down by the main guy who runs the tours through the buildings. And there's a lot of buildings closed off that only the Mayan can go into. And he said that we had already figured out, to me and the matriarch, she'd already figured out the Hebrew connection. So let's talk about something. For them, it is, when you say you are Israel, this is not a challenging thing for them to understand. They understand it immediately. If you go to the tribal peoples and you tell them today you're Israel, they don't fight you on that. What they fight you on is your attitude. So, 2 different things. And so that's the truth. And so where do you want to go from it? You want to talk about what's coming up?
Yeah, I want to do is talk really quick. You invited Latter-day Chad and I to come down to Palenque. I want you to tell us when that's going to be, because we then reached out to Brian, because Brian's the closest contact we have that's got knowledge in ancient characters, right, and interpretations thereof. And we're excited to come down. Brian's more excited because this is right up his alley, right?
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about that, what that is.
Well, before I do, let me tell you about leaning the teepee pole in.
Okay.
The Church of Jesus Christ and the other restoration branches, they're building bridges across. They have committed to building bridges. They have directly communicated with the Mayans. We had them on a phone. This is something that could have happened in your church. And what do you need? Well, we need a bridge for this community. They're building a bridge. They're building an actual bridge so that the community can get it out. And they're starting it like this month.
That's cool.
They leaned their teepee pole in and said, we will put a permanent structure for you, a community center in every single one of your villages, that we can put the records in, as well as the records you have, as well as video teleconferencing, so that all of your communities, because they said, we just want to communicate together. They have dirt roads, okay? 3 million people with dirt roads, okay? They want to be able to go on a TV screen and to be able to pull everybody up in all their communities. And the restorations are funding that. They're leaned in, okay? They are paying for the publishing of thousands and thousands of Nephite records, Books of Mormon, to go into the Maya and Amazon. Something that would have been very nice to get from Latter-day Saints, which we will, I'm sure, get now. But they have committed initially to 10,000 Books of Mormon this spring.
And they're
taking 500 down next month.
I just had to say one thing really quick. Like, we have so much more money than you, bro. We're just gonna just money, like $1 trillion, bro. Just kidding. Keep going.
Yeah, they don't. And here's the thing: you have to meet people where they're at, not where you're at. They don't want the big buildings. They just want to use technology to communicate with each other. They have resources that have never been in a global market, massive resources. You hear about it all the time, about encroachment in Mexico or Brazil or Guatemala.
We're talking avocados, aloe, potato. I mean, this is what you're talking about, right?
So yeah, 10 to 15,000 metric tons of cocoa beans. And I just want you to pause for a second. You hear about encroachment all the time. People coming in and tribal peoples being upset. Well, what would happen when those tribal peoples entered the global market and they chose to use the wealth from that to enhance their relationship with the environment and communication with each other, because they believe family and unity is the most important? I walked up to...
Oh, sorry. I want to hit on this really quick so people understand, because we've had an in-depth conversation. It took me a little bit to grasp what you're saying. When you went down there and met with these tribal leaders, these are people that for the most part don't have electricity. They're living, like a more ancient society. They're in Mexico. There's 3 million of them. This is in the Yucatan Peninsula area. And they have been selling these commodities, their avocados, their tomatoes, their limes, their cocoa, their cacao, all this stuff, and been getting taken advantage of by Mexico for decades and decades and decades. And one of the things that they asked you to do is they said, can you help us negotiate better pricing? And you're like, what? And they're like, yeah, if we could sell this to like Americans or someone else, like this could raise our community out of poverty.
That's right. So what they've been doing is they said, can you help us figure out how to aggregate and use our stuff together? People don't know, I won a Department of Defense Operational Excellence Award, all services, for a supply chain and logistics policy that I wrote and I monitored and submitted, and from a 60th percentile to a high 96th percentile fulfillment rate in Afghanistan, going through multiple trading routes. They knew this. They actually go and read my credentials that Brian has so kindly put on Book of Mormon Heartland for anybody's like, if he is really a real chief. That's the comment, that the first comment that the Mayan Grand Chief saw was that comment. That somebody's challenged if I was even a real chief. Man, it's on Book of Mormon Heartland's website. They put a credential site up. My college transcripts are there. I'd challenge anyone. You release your transcripts. Let's marry them up. I got 1B+.
Yeah, I'm not going to show them. I got skeletons.
So they said, can we aggregate these together, and could we? Because they've just been going to cities and just trying to sell them in cities. Like you see them, and they get way below market, and they can't actualize anything. And so what's occurring starting in May through the summer, and we'll get to it, is an inventory in all of the communities that will be, Midegah, will you help us rise? Absolutely. We said, the matriarchs, can I do this? They said, yes. Well, then this is what's going to happen. So we look at the churches with their wealth, and we say, we really could use the help right now to make things go faster. But we also know that the Creator, the peacemaker, Jesus Christ, has also prepared a way that it will happen no matter what anyways. With or without you. We'd rather do it with you because we love you. We'd like all of the natural and unnatural branches of the tree to stay on the tree. To stay on the tree. We want you to stay on the tree. And so that happened, and that's massive.
That's cool. I mean, think of the wealth. You hear this thing that the natives are going to blossom like a rose, right? And when you told me that was the light bulb that went off in my mind. Like, you need financial substance to be able to blossom, right? And this is going to be something that by pooling their resources together, using supply chain management and logistics, that they can negotiate prices and sell it outside of Mexico. I mean, they can sell it to America, right? This is going to raise these guys literally out of poverty. Friggin', it's amazing.
Yeah,
That's right.
I had a very short career many years ago of doing international trade of commodities of this sort. And I mean, if it sounds like they've just got some middlemen that are just kind of like leaving their communities out, then you'd think that should easily be fixed. You just need to bypass that system and let the community keep the money.
That's right. So we're talking about a trucking program and letting each community have a truck for transport, centralized accumulation based upon coordinates and where they are on supply chain and logistics routes. The churches have also talked about they will expand roads to assist them. They're all in. The restoration branches are all in. And that they will do what it takes to help them rise and become self-sufficient. Because they will become self-sufficient, but also not damaging their very sacred relationship with nature. I walked up to a monarch butterfly that was on a leaf. They were all around us. Birds and monkeys sitting inside these massive leaves, like literally 5 feet from me, staring at me, not afraid. I walked up, and you can pick butterflies up with your hand, and they stay on your hand. They're not afraid of you, because they've never had a reason to be afraid yet. And I realized we made nature mean. Our behavior made animals and insects mean. They weren't naturally that way. We made them that way. Because when you're there, they are symbiotically together, and it's so strange for my eyes to see. But they don't want to destroy that. So this is what's occurring, and it's special.
That's awesome. I love that. So when me and Brian and LDC come down to Palenque, tell us how you're going to take us.
You're not. It's not going to be in Palenque in March.
Oh,
it's going to be just outside Cancun. For Palenque, we'll have to go back in May, and you guys can come with me. We can take you on the tour. We'll talk about it in a second. So in March, and this was always planned. This was planned since last March. That's why when people are like, we want them now. We want the records now. This is for us, and we're going through what's called protocols. The book is going to be taken up to an altar that's in the midst of a gathering of over 150 tribal nations from South America, Central America, and North America. Mostly Canada on the North America side. And the book is going to be put there with the oldest sacred ceremonial pipes from North, Central, and South America, and it's going to stay there through the whole ceremonial period, which is going to be March 18th through 23rd. That's called sanction. It's sanctioned. All of the 150 nations that represent 30 million indigenous people, their leadership are having ceremonies of unity and sanctioning the book so that you know it's real. There's a discussion of me not going just so people stop thinking that this is from me. They might send me to Alabama to talk. I hope that doesn't happen because I want to be there too.
Wow. Okay.
But that's happening. So this is when I say maybe you guys aren't understanding what's happening. You're waiting for the Indians to rise. The leadership of 30 million indigenous people are rising together. They want the Nephite record, are allowing. Imagine did you guys go on missions?
Yeah, I did.
Hey, imagine if you went on a mission and you went into a community and the mayor and the city council called everybody in the community together and said, these boys are going to knock on your door. You're going to take their book. You're going to open the door. You're going to take their book and you're going to get converted. Imagine if that's your missionary. That's what's happening. That's what's happening.
Yeah,
they want a building in all 68 communities. They want technology to communicate. They want the Nephite record. The Church of Jesus Christ are providing 10,000 just this spring.
Of the red book, what is that?
What's that?
Is it of the copper book or of 10,000?
Of the Book of Mormon. Of the Book of Mormon.
Oh heck yeah!
They're layering that in. They're also going. Yes, they are also going to mimic that with the I always have a hard time saying it too. The red metal writings. Okay.
The red metal writings. By the way, you sent that to me 2 Sundays ago. I was dropped off my daughter. I put it in my car driving home. I know exactly where I was when I listened to it. It is beautiful. Shane's been reading something from the Nemenhah, which is the temple writings, and it goes over like this creation story, right? Which has a lot of similarities to what Latter-day Saints hear when they go into the temple, right? This is another creation story, and it's written in this different perspective. It's beautiful. I got the chills reading. I was just like, oh my gosh.
And I got to tell people, guess who else was invited down to Cancun for this ceremony? The Nemenhah were. Their book is being asked for in the tribal communities.
Sanctions.
Now, I had an elder. I asked that, because I talked to the elder and I said, for me, I know that there are areas in it that you will disagree on. And I was told, when there's a car crash, there's going to be a different view angle on the very same car crash. You don't have to agree with every observation and rationalization, but there will be enough similarity. It's the same crash you're looking at. We have to view these records from tribal peoples. The Maya and the Amazonians have records. You have to view these with respect and meet them where they're at and their angle. They will not always hit the mark that you expect, but you also have to understand you turn pages in the Book of Mormon and 600 years disappear.
Yeah,
that's like 3 United States that could come and go.
I've said this to Shane several times. Like, imagine if they found a book that was like off the Florida coast that was like buried under the water for 12,000 years, and it came up. And if like 90% of that book was just garbage, but 10% of it reaffirmed the Bible or the Book of Mormon, like, wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be like the coolest freaking thing, right?
Yeah.
That's what this is to me. That's why it's important to me. That's why I clung on to you in the beginning. You're talking about validating a book that I love. It's like the most important thing to me. And I didn't care about any of the other stuff that you said. I'm like, that's so important to me.
I want to make a statement about the Nemenhah record, what you were just talking about this creation story, because I was reading it this last week, reading about this story. For my whole life, I've always heard this concept that the atonement of Jesus Christ is not just for this world, but it's for all worlds that have been created and shall be created. And that I'd also learned from certain writings that our world is the only world that has a Satan, which didn't make sense to me. I was like, how could that be? Why is it that our plan of salvation is different from every other world that ever exists or will exist or whatever? The story in there is just absolutely incredible, where it talks about Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother, how they got together and started creating things, and how they encountered this being who was the Holy Ghost, and the origin of the Holy Ghost, and how it came into the story of the need of a Savior, Jesus Christ, and how he was selected and chosen to do that role. And I had never, I'd always questioned why these things could be. And now the story is laid out before me, and I can accept it or I can reject it, because the Nemenhah record is not accepted as scripture by our church, but it sure is a fascinating story. And it's, wow, it's powerful.
There's communities of 30 million indigenous that are accepting it as scripture.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that when they turn pages and there's, this, you got to remember these books were written by men. They were.
Yeah.
So you're going to turn pages where there are going to be men that are like you and me, that are in positions that they're ill-equipped for. Maybe it's to help them grow. I always say, give people a break when they get a calling. It's to help them grow. It's because he loves them and he doesn't want them to fall off a cliff. So usually when somebody gets a calling to be like a bishop or a stake president, man, you better pray for them. Because it's probably because they're the one that would do the worst at it, but it's so they can grow. So stop judging them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
there's things I've read in the Nemenhah that I don't know if I would put it in truth category, right? Like, I'm still reconciling this, but there's some really cool stuff in it. And guess what? There's some apocryphal books that I hold in the same esteem, right? That, like, there's great stuff that I get from them, and I run into some other stuff. I'm like, I don't know how I understand that. Brian, I don't know if it's because I have like a lower spiritual intelligence, whatever, but when I read the temple writings, like it in the Nemenhah, it confused me. It kind of scared me a little bit, like that Holy Ghost thing. I was like, I called Shane. I'm like, I don't like this part at all. I don't like it. He's like, it's because you don't understand. I said, probably, because it kind of scared me. But point is, there is a book that is coming out in March.
Well, in March, it's going to be, this will be, we've asked Zion Media, record it. We want everyone to see this, that 150 tribal nations from North, Central, and South America will have a ceremony from March 18th to March 23rd, where the book will remain on the altar each day, and this is its sanctioning. And this will be just outside of Cancun. And following that, in April, it will be released, because this is our new year. It's new, it's a new day. Now, what does this mean for you? You've been sailing a ship. Our churches have been sailing a ship on the winds of our ancestors. Through that Book of Mormon, we're providing, and many of you sit in church and you say, oh, this is boring. When's it ever going to be any different? When are these things really going to happen? And then when they happen, where are you at? What are you saying? What are you doing? We're providing you a lot of wind. There will be wind April and October for the next 3 years. So how important do you think we feel it is that you and we draw closer to the great peacemaker? Very, very important. And so if we are saying that that's what we would like to do, and we want the Nephite record, they want the Nephite record, they want the Book of Mormon, we should all be just literally falling out of our houses to give the Indians the book. Take it. This is your people. Take the book. Not saying, well, I don't know if you're Indian enough to be Indian enough to have the book.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like even the early saints, where in Doctrine and Covenants, I don't remember if it might not be 84, but where it says like we're under condemnation for not receiving the fullness of the Book of Mormon, right? Like, repeat. History's just like this horrible, brutal repeater.
So in April, there's going to be 2 conferences. Well, there may be one. There's going to be a joint conference that is in Missouri and Independence. That's going to be the 6th through the 13th. This is going to be all of those restoration branches that are in Missouri. The very week after that, there's going to be a conference up in Pennsylvania with the Church of Jesus Christ. In each of those, our elders will be given a full day of a general conference to talk and to do ceremony and to sing songs and to help you accept them or for them to accept you. Now, that was the plan. However, apostles showed up and were integrated together in this conference that we just did, and there's discussion about all of them being together, whether it's in Missouri or in Pennsylvania, and those things will be worked out over the next 2 weeks. The book will be released there. We will have 10,000 copies of the book, and we will hand them out for free. You will get it for free, knowing that the month prior, 150 nations with 30 million people, over 30 million indigenous people, have said this is true. Not Midegah, not me.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is people are like Midegah's. When is Midegah's book being brought out? Bro, I wish you had a book. You know, we would already have.
I wish I had a book, man. Give me the royalties, dude. I mean, come on.
Hey, and should we give a little shout out to? Can I say her name? Who's helping? No? Okay.
Which? Hold on. Helping with what?
Helping bring forth the copper, the red book, the woman. I don't want to say her name if I'm not supposed to.
Well, which woman? Wendy Phillips? Weta Cosette? Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, give her a little shout out really quick. I mean, what she's doing.
Yeah, so
she got a book back. She went to the Vatican, demanded a record that the Vatican had, and they gave it to her, and she brought it back.
She had a personal audience with the Pope, man. Came back and still people calling her house and asking her if she's a real Indian. It's like she's on the foundations that meet with the Dominion of Canada, man. So she when I was raised up, she's the one that is in the meetings with the Iroquois Nation that's in Canada side, the Mohawk Nation, like, and they recognize the Anishinaabe chiefs as Iroquois chiefs, and the Iroquois chiefs are recognized as Anishinaabe chiefs, just like now we're recognized as Mayan chiefs. That sounds like political unity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's because of her. Now she goes down to Palenque. Okay, I got to tell you about this. And she wears the most beautiful. She always wears a necklace with a red lady. That's the head matriarch. Okay. And she goes down there and she's wearing total red, all red. And there's also something that hasn't been released for a year. They also had a tree fall and collapse one of the structures, and it opened up and it uncovered the red woman. It was a matriarch that was down in Palenque, and they found out the Maya had been saying it for a while, but now they have proof that they were a matriarchal society, just like we were up at the north. And the head woman wore red, and Wendy was wearing red, and this was such a significant thing. And they took her to the building, and they let her go inside, and there was a reconciliation that occurred. And this is sacred. You know, Weta Cosette, Wendy Phillips, you know, her entire life has been focused on the reunification of the Eagle Condor peoples. This is a trade route. It's from the largest bird of South America is the condor. The largest bird of North America is the great eagle. We used to be one trade route. And in the middle of that, managing it was the Maya. Okay? And so this is turning back on. And so it's turning back on. We're turning it back on. Now, who's also coming up? The chiefs of the Amazon. Why? They realize that the encroachment on their lands, they have a lot of people, but the land is really big. Okay? Is encroachment. Well, one of the reasons it's encroached upon is because they haven't allocated it and lifted it up into the global marketplace for others to know that it's theirs and they can't steal it and use it. So the same thing is going to be occurring. We'll be going and visiting with them in August. And then in 2026, we will do the same thing. We will go into every single Amazonian community, welcomed. We will establish their coordinates. what resources they have in the per annum volume, the location for a building, which will immediately start building, and then communication so that they can then communicate instantaneously with themselves over their vast distance, and also all of the Maya of Central America and the tribes of North America at the same moment. That sounds like another United Nations. So if that's not turning on, I don't know what is. And their resources, Midegah's leading the team, working with the restoration branches on making that actually happen. If you want them to blossom as a rose like you have, okay, give them the ability to blossom. Put a little bit in for them to be able to get a lot out. And all they want from technology is solar power and communication to be able to see each other on a screen. That's it. It's fascinating to me.
I happen to know a guy who's in solar power.
So we go in May for 2 weeks. We go in June for 2 weeks, and we go in July for 2 weeks, and that's going to hit about 30 communities. So we can get kind of an idea of what volume will be. We can make some projections. And then starting in the fall, and then we go to the Amazon with the same people we're going to meet in March. And we have the first introduction, just like we did in December. And then, which is just a ceremony saying the fire has been relit. The unity has been relit. And then 2020 what's
fire stuff, or am
yeah, we're already in the 8th fire. We're already in the 8th age. We're already empowered. And so if people haven't figured that out, like why they should be saying, why is it that no matter what we do, Midegah keeps presenting that things are happening and there's a lot of other people involved? Well, it's because we're empowered. Our prayers are being answered. We have met the bar of sacrifice. Nobody has sacrificed a longer genocide in human history than we have. It says in the scriptures that the 7th generation is blessed. Okay? What we're trying to say to you, and I'm pleading with you, as Samuel the Lamanite did when he came from his people and said, please, we're rising. If you do not fall, we will make the mightiest nation the world's ever seen. Please don't fall. Okay? Please, 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 please. So in the same way, I am coming to you and I am saying, these people are rising. Okay? Please don't be a roadblock. Wouldn't it be a shame if it was the Book of Mormon peoples who were the ones that prevented the actual descendants of the Book of Mormon peoples from rising?
Listen, if I was the devil and I was running it, that would be the most genius move in the entire world, is to get the Book of Mormon people to put the roadblock, like Yahtzee, right? Okay, Midegah, I am getting Shane tired. We got a lot of stuff to cover. I can see Brian's getting Shane tired as well. And I want to kind of put a bow on this, but before I go, I want to let Brian say any last words, excitement of going down, looking at some of this stuff, let you be able to wrap it up. And we'll call it a night. It's about 1:30.
I'll just share a quick poem when you're done.
I love it.
Okay. I this is like being asked to bear testimony at sacrament meeting at the spur of the moment. I don't know that I really have anything significant to say. It's just always exciting to hear the things that you're working on and the potential that could be done to help other people. And this isn't all about records. It's the whole package. And I really hope that eventually our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, joins in and helps, because I really think they should.
Yeah, I'm doing my part.
You're doing it. So they don't need plumbing. They don't need big buildings. They just need somewhere where the Book of Mormon can be, and a way to communicate. And they need roads expanded so that they can take their resources to an international market and use that wealth to blossom like a rose. That's what they need. And so, and it's not just about a book. It's about unity of their community. And that's unity with your community. And so I'm going to speak to them right now. And it's a sacred poem that is as if when I was younger and I was asked, what would you say? I would say this. I would say, my tribal brothers and sisters, I know it hurts and it angers to never feel free, to think of what has been taken, the lost native dreams of swift feet on the open land, the drum beats where the teepee stand, the call of the hunt and the buffalo breath. On frosted earth, I know you can never forget. But they cannot take away what is in your heart. There is no losing what was never theirs. Yet amidst the disillusion of the very little that is left, too many worry if their blood is enough to come home. Unity is the Creator's great gift, a sacred red road from the sparkling stars of your grandchild's eyes. Can you still hear your Creator's voice upon the wind? And do you see that eagle soaring high upon the skies, calling for you to wipe the tears from tomorrow's years and be free? We're almost there. We are the generation that will be blessed. And to our Book of Mormon peoples that have carried this sacred history for 200 years, which has changed your families, as we are the 7th generation of genocide being blessed by the Creator, do not willfully choose to be that 7th generation that is cursed and falls. Rise with us, please, I beg you. I'm begging you, do not fall. The arrows that have been shot did not hit the mark. This should be a sign to you. Amidst all the others, we revealed a historical site in southern Missouri. In the second half of May, they started building a lodge right now. It'll be done in May, and there will be a ceremony there. We'll invite Zion Media, and we will walk everybody through the historical site. We're rising. We want you to rise with us. We got to catch up to you, but we also don't want to surpass you.
You don't.
We want to talk with you. We want to be with you. With you. Yeah.
I love you, brother. I'm happy you're happy, and keep doing what you're doing. We'll stay in touch. People keep asking, when's Midegah gonna be back on? Well, as far as we know right now, this Midnight Midegah thing might be a continuation.
Yeah, and another thing, because all the drama, Brian knows, after October, I went to work. I had a lot of stuff to do, and I didn't have time to do a lot of podcast stuff, the Cardinal Hour, everything. I didn't have a lot of time. We were getting it done. But hey, tune in every Monday for what did you call it again?
Well, it's Midnight Mormons / Through the Mormons, because Cardin's mad right now. Well, not mad. We're working it out. So it's Midnight Midegah until further notice.
And we'll give updates, and you'll get Mega Midegah every Monday.
Love it. All right, guys. Thank you for joining in to Zion Media and Midnight Midegah. Appreciate you guys, and stay tuned. We got some really cool episodes coming up this week. Love you guys.
Love you, Brian. Love you, Trevor.
Love you guys too. Bye-bye.
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different, man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro, don't waste your time no more. Who the f*** are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a d*** if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna f***ing do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they block it.
Like, you're at mute.
I said, good thing that was edited. I didn't know that song had words in.
Hey, I think that
We'll
was
see you
pretty
later.
positive.